Greetings, everyone. Welcome once again to the Alaska Bigfoot Studies. I am your host, Chuke. It's been a great week. I got to connect with Rob Roy Menzies. I got this sweatshirt from him at the Bigfoot Art Gallery in Palmer. Always fun to go out there. I will be filming with Baxter down in Homer this upcoming week for spring break, so I'm very excited about that. Wanted to thank all my viewers for tuning in. Joe Mo and the kids, and everyone's enjoying their Sunday morning cartoon Bigfoot goodness with Chuke. But I wanted to talk about the 411 missing connection. It's a really interesting series, and I wasn't too familiar with it, but I did talk to Beans and Rob Roy about it, and there is something going on. Now, here in Alaska, we have a high number of people that go missing every year. And it's really interesting. I think it could be a combination of a lot of things. Obviously, the land is just brutal. It will swallow you up and you'll just disappear forever. I have been in the mountains on hunting trips in thick fog, and even with my GPS, I'm having a very difficult time getting oriented and finding trailheads and getting my way back. I'm always able to eventually get back, but I have been lost and just turned around, and even though I can find my way back, it's hours and hours late because I'm so disoriented by the fog and the terrain and the land. So I do understand how brutal it can be, especially in harsh weather conditions. People can die, fall in crevasses. It's just brutal, unforgiving. The Alaskan territory will just swallow you up. But I do think that there is a correlation between the Bigfoot hotspots and these people going missing. One of the reasons is we have Bigfoot, Sasquatch in some areas that are not friendly. And, you know, when you talk about Port Chatham, I always pronounce that incorrectly. I'm not even sure how it's pronounced, but the Bigfoot in that area are definitely not friendly. We have reports of them killing people, eating people, possibly, and who knows. I do think a percentage of these people that go missing could be due to Bigfoot. Absolutely. So let's check in with Rob Roy Menzies and Beans Baxter and see what they have to say about that. So this is a subject that I had to talk about, and Beans gave me this idea, but we got the Alaska missing 411 people. I mean, there are just so many people that go missing in Alaska that it's just odd. I mean, the terrain and the land itself will take you up. But just give me what your thoughts on the regular people going missing in state parks and Bigfoot involvement possibilities. What do you think?
Boy, I find the subject just fascinating. I've read almost all of David Paulides' missing 411 books. But even before that, I was intrigued. There were always little stories of missing people going out. And when I first started reading his book series, Bigfoot was on my brain because it just seemed like something was snagging these people in the woods that was unusual. Right. Not a bear, cougar. I mean, these people just vanish. About into the third book, though, I began seeing the pattern and David keeps mentioning this pattern. And it seems more than just Bigfoot, some of them. Right. The way these people go missing, where they're with a group of people, literally just right behind a guy, and they're there 1 second, the guy turns around and he's completely gone. Wow. And they can't find his body, they nothing. That is, I don't know. It's easy to think Bigfoot because these things are supposedly out there. Yeah. And I think some of them could be, possibly. Right. Yeah. I don't think Bigfoots are your friend. Right. I would be very cautious, of course, around them, like I would a bear. I don't know what they would do, but the whole missing thing in Alaska is so huge. I can see how people could just go missing on their own, and just get lost or fall. Some of the terrain is tricky. There's lots of water, there's streams, there's things that if people are not experienced, or if they're a little too brave that one day, their life could be over with. and they could disappear. If the tide takes them away,
Yeah.
or they fall into a river and down and they go and get tangled up in logs and whatnot.
Right.
But then there's the mysterious, the people that go missing, the marathon, the mountain marathon in Seward, for instance.
Yeah.
That's kind of strange.
Really strange.
The guy just disappeared. They still have not found his body.
Yeah.
Another gentleman out in Girdwood, this is maybe 5 years ago now. Mm-hmm. I believe he was from Texas. Went on one of these nice little groom trails they have out in Girdwood. These nice little touristy trails.
Yeah.
Gone.
No
Never
trace.
found him. No belongings, nothing. He just gone. They dragged the rivers. They looked for weeks for this guy. Mm-hmm. Gone. Yeah. And I believe Mr. Polites was actually looking into that story too. That was kind of fell into that category of strangeness. But
right.
I worry about myself. So, no, I don't worry. But when I'm by myself out there, I'm not scared. I don't feel like something's out to get me.
Right.
And I don't know if that will change if I see something, but to this day, I still feel pretty good to go. I mean, I like to have my phone and GPS, always let people know what I'm doing.
Right.
But it is on my mind. It's a mystery. I don't know what it is. It's strange. Could be animals, could be bears.
Yeah.
I think bears could be, and we're talking Alaska, but predators are out there too.
Yeah.
That aliens, who knows, maybe
comes
aliens
to my
are abducting
mind too,
people.
yeah.
Because that's what besides the Bigfoot, it sounds like there's some kind of alien thing going on. Like
People
they're
just
being abducted. I mean,
plucked out
the ones
of
that they
existence.
find in the water too. And the autopsy reports, I've read a few of these where the body shows signs of being dropped from a high distance.
Interesting.
Which is, that's kind of like, whoa, well.
Yeah.
What picks up a human body and can fly off with it and then drop it. But,
right.
It's a big mystery. I'm still very intrigued by that. Hopefully neither one of us will go missing.
Right.
But, if we do, we'll know the truth then.
Stay armed. Keep your dogs with you.
Yes.
Go in groups.
Banjo will always be with me, and I've got my protection. So.
Good. All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, over the years, Alaska's gotten a reputation for being the land of the midnight sun and the land of the missing person. I think a lot of that got kind of propelled into the limelight by the Missing 411 series and some other pieces of media and stuff that's come out spotlighting missing people cases. And depending on where you go for your information, you can get some wildly varying numbers on the amount of missing people in Alaska. And I'm going to be a little bit of a party pooper here on this one. I'm gonna pull it back a little bit, keep it real. A lot of those statistics that you see regarding missing people, and working in law enforcement, I've worked on missing person cases. I've had a hand in looking for people that couldn't be found, and working suicides and other types of cases like that, where you have someone that goes missing and there's this franticness by the family to find them. And a lot of times what happens with a lot of those cases is someone will call and say, hey, my grandnanny always calls me at 3:00 on Sunday, and we talk for a half hour, and I live in another state in the lower 48, and I haven't heard from her. I've been calling, she's not answering. I called the neighbor, they don't know where she is. She's missing. And we would go look, and inevitably what would happen is Grandnanny would come home. She had gone to a church function or gone to the movies with a friend and not checked in with family, and she was fine. And most of the time, like 99% of the time, that's how a lot of those cases would end. But still, when we got that call at the police department, that case would get coded in our file system as a missing person. And a lot of times, a lot of these websites that spout these numbers, they're somewhat factual in that, there was 20,000 missing person cases reported in Alaska, but what they don't report to you is that, 19,935 of them were resolved almost right away. The person, got delayed in travel. They didn't want to be found. They were just late getting back from hunting or a church trip or something like that. So a lot of times these numbers get inflated, usually to push some kind of narrative that Bigfoot's attacking people or Dogman's killing people, something like that. And a lot of times, those numbers are just not accurate. There's something called the UCR reporting, the Universal Crime Reporting Statistics, and a lot of times when a call comes in and it gets reported as a missing person, even though maybe it's not even technically a missing person, according to the UCR rules, it has to get put in as a missing person. A lot of times, a lot of missing person calls that come in are actually just welfare checks, wanting police to go check for somebody or look for somebody. Somebody hasn't checked in yet. On the other hand, you do have a lot of people that go missing in the wilderness and are never heard from again. A lot of boating accidents. There's a lot of water in Alaska. So somebody goes out on a boat, something happens to the boat, they never get found, and there's a missing person case right there. Likely scenario, they probably ended up in the water and perished. And a lot of those cases, they're tragic, but they're not quite as sensationalized as a lot of the media will portray, missing person cases as, and a lot of them get ignored for the most part. You do have a small segment of the population. There's a lot with the missing 411 and people going missing in national parks. And honestly, I don't think it's as sinister and sensationalized as it's made out to be. A lot of times in those situations, you have people, they're tourists, they're transients, and they're just coming into an area they're not familiar with. They have varying degrees of competence in the woods. I mean, you may have people that have never really been in the woods before, and then you may have some that are moderately competent and they think they're a lot more competent than they are, and they end up going out in the woods and having an accident, having unfortunate circumstances, and a lot of that gets conflated into there's something bad going on in the woods, when most of the time it's just people with lacking skills, probably going above and beyond their limits for survival. And here in Alaska, we have a unique environment here where, you can get locked out of your car or your house and die. We have some amazing climates here with cold temperatures, freezing rain. Hypothermia is very concerning when you're outdoors. You can go on a short hike, forget to pack the right kind of clothes or forget to pack dry clothes, and literally it can lead to your death. And people do a lot of strange things when they're in the throes of hypothermia, from running away from rescuers in a panic to, paradoxical undressing where they take their clothes off and fold them up, stuff like that. And a lot of that gets sensationalized and turned into cryptid-related stuff, and I just don't think that's the case. I think most of the time, probably 99.99% of the time, it's just people that are going outside their skill level for survival and meeting a bad end. And when you have a place that's as vast as Alaska, then that's just a recipe for disaster. Just a wrong turn, a few degrees off the trail, and you're just gone forever. And they may never find you. You might get drug off by scavengers, predators, and maybe a piece of clothing or something's all they'll ever find. So, I know I'm a little bit of a party pooper on that. I don't think there's really anything strange and mysterious. I do think Bigfoot do have the potential to be a threat and aggressive, but I think much like bears, It has to be a specific sort of circumstances. Maybe they're protecting young, protecting a food source, or maybe they're just getting really old and it's hard for them to provide for themselves to hunt anymore. So maybe they might see some vulnerable humans as easy prey. But again, I think there's probably a lot less Bigfoot than there are bears. So I think Bigfoot attacks are much rarer than even a bear attack, which are pretty rare. But we have a few here every now and then in Alaska. But usually when you hear about them, they make the news. So yeah, I think probably a lot of the missing person phenomenon is just unprepared people going into the wilderness or into more urban environments. It's probably human interactions, serial killers, domestic violence, that sort of thing, where people go missing in urban environments. But I don't think it's quite the phenomenon that the cryptid community has basically blown it up to be. There's a lot of things in Alaska that can kill you without even mentioning Bigfoot, cryptids, anything like that. There's certainly, the weather is a factor. We do have large animals and predators, and just the vastness of the landscape at times can be incredibly dangerous to a human. You walk into an area, you've got 50 pounds of gear, and you're walking on two legs, and if something happens to one of those legs, it gets hurt or disabled or something, I mean, that could be it for you right there. You can't get out. And if you're not carrying some sort of satellite communication device, then you could be in a lot of trouble. A lot of people now, with the advent of cell phones, that's their communication device. They're carrying around a cell phone, and especially in Alaska, there's not a lot of areas out here in the wilderness where you can get service. Most of the places I go, you cannot get service, or maybe if you're lucky, one bar if you stand on a rock just right and hold your phone up. So I'm a big fan of 2 is 1 and 1 is none. I carry my cell phone, which isn't super reliable, and I carry my satellite communication device, which is more reliable. I have had areas where it was very difficult to get out because of dense tree cover and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't carry just compasses anymore. They rely on their electronics, and batteries die. Cold weather drains batteries, and people get in bad situations. And always tell somebody where you're going. You hear a lot of the, he went back to the car to get something and he was never seen again. That's splitting up is never a good idea. I'm a big fan of, if you go out with somebody, the sight sound rule is always a good rule to adhere to. Never get outside somebody's range of sight or sound. It's just asking for trouble if you separate from your partner. But yeah, those are my thoughts on missing people in Alaska and the missing 411 phenomenon up here. I know it's a little different. It's not quite the ferocious Bigfoot dogman talk that you hear on a lot of cryptid channels. But I like to use my experiences and training in my investigations, and for the most part, that's what I find. I think that true mysterious missing person cases are pretty rare and not as prevalent as other podcasts and media would have you believe.
So there you have it. It is a mystery. I think something's going on even with the paranormal, interdimensional aspect. Shout out to Jomo. We got Bigfoot disappearing, and I think they have the ability to take people and disappear them to wherever they go in that other worldly dimension. A portion of the examples out there, I think there is some bizarre connection to that we just don't understand. So I've got a lot more expeditions planned, especially as we're nearing spring. So hopefully sooner than later, I will be going out on some of these expeditions. I'm very excited about that. But I did want to shed some light on these disappearances and also tell you always be prepared. You know, take food, water with you, something to protect yourself. You should have a firearm, at the very least, bear spray, a good knife, several knives, in fact, and a good emergency kit. Because, as I said, this land is unforgiving, and there are some unknowns out there, and you need to be able to take care of yourself and your loved ones, protect yourself. So we're going to continue doing these videos every Sunday, and thank you for tuning in, guys. It's Chuke, your friend in the field.